Part 5. Shadow Reckoning. Rain fell again on the night of the final job, as if the city had been waiting to wash itself afterwards. Part 5. Shadow Reckoning. Rain fell again on the night of the final job, as if the city had been waiting to wash itself afterward. The target branch sat in a wealthier district, wide-fronted and immaculate, all pale stone and dark glass. It looked like the kind of place built to survive scandal, recession, politics, everything except the one thing already moving toward it through the storm. Darius and the remaining crew entered with the discipline they had left, but something was off from the first breath. The air inside felt occupied. Not by customers. Not by routine. By intention. A man near the brochure rack turned too sharply. A woman seated at the desk by new accounts kept one hand too close to her coat. The branch manager's smile came a fraction too late. Darius saw it all at once. "Out," he said. Too late. The bank erupted. Weapons came up from hidden positions. Shouts ripped across the lobby. Glass burst inward and outward under the first exchange. The room became a strobe of muzzle flashes, overturned furniture, splintering wood, and bodies trying to move through confined panic. The trap had been built to end not just the robbery, but the myth. Numbers went down near the consultation desk before he even made the side corridor. Ghost took 2 rounds and still kept firing until he collapsed against the vault wall. Will Man tried to break for the service exit and disappeared in a storm of gunfire. Isaiah, furious to the end, charged violence with violence and died in the middle of the marble floor beneath a rain of shattered ceiling plaster and siren-like reflections. Darius made it farther. He always did. He cut through smoke and chaos, using columns and counters, refusing surrender not because he believed he would live, but because surrender was a language he had never learned. When officers finally overwhelmed him, it took blood, numbers, and the full collapse of the room around him. He hit the floor glaring, not pleading. The vault's shadows died there. Or so it seemed. When the noise faded, Marcus Hale entered the ruined bank wearing the hard, sober expression the city had already come to trust. Officers moved around him with the stunned adrenaline of survivors. Reese stood off to one side, face streaked with sweat and grit, shoulder bruised from the firefight but eyes still sharp. "It's done," she said quietly. Hale looked over the bodies, the weapons, the wreckage, the scattered money. Almost. The cleanup began. Evidence markers. Body counts. Scene photos. Radio reports. The great public beast of victory gathering itself outside in headlights and cameras. In the middle of it all, one of the branch managers, a meticulous woman named Laura Voss, started checking recovered currency against her vault figures. She noticed something small. A discrepancy. Not enough for panic. Enough for suspicion. She saw Hale near the exit as officers moved around him. She called to him, apologetic at first, then confused. He turned. She stepped closer. The bundle beneath his coat shifted just enough. Her eyes widened. For a second the whole room seemed to freeze around that realization. "You took it," she said. Hale's face changed, not wildly, not theatrically. It simply emptied. Whatever decent mask he wore for the world dropped away and revealed something colder beneath it, something that had always been there. Laura backed up, horror flooding her features. "You stole." The shot cut her down before the sentence finished. Every officer in the bank spun toward the sound. Ruiz stared, not understanding what she was seeing until she understood all of it at once. The delayed responses. The misdirected leads. The confidence. The call. The measured obsession. Marcus Hale did not run like a panicked man. He ran like a man whose hidden life had finally come above ground. He fired as he moved, blasting through the ruined exit into rain and flashing lights, forcing officers to cover and scatter. By the time the perimeter tried to fold around him, he had already taken a cruiser and punched through the first line. "Marcus!" Ruiz screamed into the storm after him, though whether it was rage, disbelief, or grief she couldn't have said. Now the truth tore through the department faster than gunfire. Marcus Hale, lead detective, Hunter of the Vault Shadows, had been the seventh member all along, the silent partner buried inside the investigation, the man who bent response times, planted bad directions, slowed the machine just enough to let the crew keep winning. He hadn't stood outside the crimes trying to solve them. He had stood inside them, feeding on both sides of the chaos. Money from the robberies, power from the hunt. Helicopters rose. Highway units flooded the arterial roads. Border alerts screamed into the night. Hale tore down the interstate with sirens behind him and blood soaking through his shirt, his hands wide on the wheel, his mind finally stripped of pretense. No badge now. No speeches. No careful posture of justice. Just greed, survival, and the terrible relief of no longer hiding. Back at the bank, Reese stood among bodies and rainwater and shattered trust while crime scene lights painted everything sickly blue-white. One of the evidence officers found a sealed packet tucked inside material taken from Darius's possessions, a backup ledger, hidden deep, marked with a single line, "If Hale runs, open this." Ruiz broke it open with shaking hands. Inside were account fragments, coded notations, photos, and enough proof to confirm what instinct had just begun screaming. Darius had either suspected or discovered the truth before the final robbery. He had walked into the trap knowing there was poison somewhere in the blood, but too late, or too arrogantly, to save himself from it. At the very bottom of the packet was one handwritten sentence. He thought he was using us. He never understood we were watching him too. Ruiz looked up from the page into the fractured glow of emergency lights and knew the night was not over. Marcus Hale was still out there, wounded but moving. The crew was dead. The city would wake to a truth uglier than fear. And somewhere ahead on a black ribbon of highway, the detective who had built himself into both hunter and shadow was racing toward a border, a bag of blood-stained cash, and a future that might yet hold one more war. The series ends with Hale driving into the storm, police closing behind him, Ruiz in pursuit, and dawn still hours away. No peace. No clean ending. Only reckoning.